Hello, hi, welcome back. Or if you're new here, hi, welcome. My name is Wendy Ivan Martinez. I am a geek, and today we are tier ranking all the books that I read in 2023. So we have, I believe, 88 books. One of them, just one of them, is a DNF that I included in there. There was another DNF that I didn't include in there, but yeah. So anyways, let's just go ahead and get started with tier ranking our books, all the books that I read in 2023. Let's get started. All right, so we have our tiers here. So the first tier we have is This Was Horrible. So these are all the books that were like 1-star or DNFs that I just absolutely did not like at all. Like, I hated them. Like, if I could just erase them from my memory, I totally would. The next would be meh, not good, but not bad. So these are like my 2 stars. Like, it was okay. Like, it wasn't horrendous, but it wasn't good, if that makes any sense. It was meh. It was meh. Next we have Good But Forgettable. So these are the books that were good that I enjoyed. However, these were pretty forgettable. Like, I just don't remember them. Next was This Was Great. So these could be my 3 stars that I actually really enjoyed, or my 4 stars that I just thought were amazing. And then we have God Tier Perfection. So these are like my 5 stars, can do no wrong. I absolutely love them and would love to read them again sort of books. So we have all our books here. Let's just go ahead and get started with the first one. This is by no means in order of the books, how I read them, the months that I read them. They're just randomly selected. So the first one is How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix. This I read during my Grady Hendrix vlog, okay, that I will list somewhere here. So I'm gonna put this one in This Was Great, because I really enjoyed this book. I still remember it till this day. It really scared me. It really affected me, like, in a good way. Like, I really enjoyed it. Next was The Haunting of Ashburn House by Darcy Coates. This was another one that I really enjoyed. This was a very cozy, classic haunted house book where this woman inherits this house that turns out to be haunted, and this was another one that was just really good. Okay, so we're gonna put it under This Was Great as well, because it was great. Next was The Road to Roswell, and this was a DNF. Okay, I read this late July when I was in Joshua Tree, and this happened to be the book that I picked up right after Fourth Wing, and I hated it. Okay, it was a book about, it was supposed to be a romance with a UFO/alien. So I was like, yes, I love aliens. I was going to Joshua Tree, obviously alien territory there, and I hated it. I just thought it was like so outdated. I just thought it was just terrible, you know, like, and I noticed that the author was like a little bit older, so I was like, oh, maybe this is supposed to take place in like the 90s or the 80s, and that's why she's not using her cell phone. That's why she's asking for directions and getting a map instead of just using her cell phone to GPS. And none of those things happened, and she was like trying to go to a payphone and stuff, and I'm like, why are you doing that? So next we have The Romance Book Club. This is another one that I hated. Like, this one, the concept was amazing. It's about this guy trying to get his wife back, and he joins this like book club where they read like romances that they try to do like what the men in the romances do. However, the execution was terrible. The character is annoying. I just thought it was stupid. Next is Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This book was good. I really enjoyed this one. I have a physical copy, but I also was listening to it on audio, and it had a full cast of characters. It deals with like the ins and outs of like what rock and roll is like known for, you know, like sex, drugs, all that stuff, and this band as they climbed to fame and to stardom and all the consequences that go with it. And I really liked it. However, it wasn't like God tier for me. I always think like Taylor Jenkins Reid is just like overhyped, but it was good. Next we have The Risk, the the Mind F series by St. Abbey. I really liked this. Okay, give me dark romance. I've said this so many times, but give me dark romance, and that's a no. Give me dark romance with a female serial killer, and that's a yes. That's a definite yes for me. So I'm going to put this in God tier perfection because I really liked this, okay? I really liked this a lot. I don't know if it was in one of my top 10s. I don't think it was in my top 10 because I haven't finished the whole series. So I just didn't put it on there. Next we have Kingdom of... You know what? I'm actually going to change my mind. I'm going to put that book in This Was Great. Because I don't think it was God tier, but it was really good. Next we have Kingdom of the Wicked. This was like it has to do with like the princes of hell and was very like, I don't know. It was okay. It was good. It was a YA, so I don't know if that's why I wasn't into it as much as I had hoped it was. I'm going to put this under meh. Not good, but not bad. This was a meh, okay? Like, I don't want to say it was forgettable because it wasn't really forgettable, but it wasn't, like, good. You know what I mean? Next, we have Fire and Fate by Serena Valentino. This was on my worst books of the year. It's supposed to be a Hades origin story to Hercules' Hades. Didn't really have any of the Greek mythology. And the Hades acted nothing like Hercules' Hades. It was terrible. It sucked. I hated it so much. So I'm going to put it under This Was Horrible. I actually did finish it. However, if I could take it out of my brain and just pretend like it never happened, I totally would because it was terrible. Next we have Tender is the Flesh by Agustina Basterica. This book really messed me up. Okay? It messed me up so bad. Like, it messed me up. I don't know what else to say. It really effed me up. This is a horror book about like a world where all like animals have to be slaughtered. Yes, and that includes your pets. And so human meat is made legal for consumption. And it really messed me up. I'm gonna put it under This Was Great because God Tier Perfection is like, I'll read it again. And I don't want to read this book again because it really effed me up. So unless like I'm like a complete masochist and I'm like asking for torture, I would read it again. However, I did love this book. It was actually one of my best books of the year because maybe I am a masochist and it really messed me up. And the fact that it had that huge of an impact on me, it had to be like a 5-star read. Next we have Satan's Affair by H.G. Carlton. I'm going to say this again. Give me dark romance. It's a eh. Give me dark romance with a female serial killer, and that's a hell yes. Automatic 5-star for me. Satan's Affair. I'm actually shocked because I hated Haunting Adeline. Satan's Affair was effing fantastic. I would read this again and again. I loved this book so much. I heard that our main character from this book, Scifi, is going to get her own series, and I can't wait for that because I never knew I needed reverse harem with a female serial killer until I read this. And now I know I need reverse harem with a female serial killer. The next book is A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. I mean, obviously this is gonna go in God Tier Perfection. Sarah J. Maas can do no wrong. Every book that I've read by her, other than Assassin's Blade, has been a perfect 5-star for me. Assassin's Blade being the only exception to that rule. Other than that, Sarah J. Maas can do no wrong. It was amazing. I read it for the second or third time, and I'm going to read it again in this year during 2024 for a vlog where I actually finish the series because I've only read the first book. Next we have Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett. I found this amazing new genre called cozy fantasy, and I realized cozy fantasy, yeah, it's definitely my thing. It's like a low stakes fantasy book, and I was obsessed. I was obsessed. I don't know. This is gonna have to go under God Tier Perfection. One of the best books of 2023 for sure as well. Next we have Serpent and the Wings of Night. I really did enjoy this book up until the ending. You know, we have like the underdog. We have this big, huge fight, and we have a badass female MC, and I loved all that. I hated the ending. I hated the ending. Like, the ending really disappointed me. It really disappointed me, and I think I would have liked it more if I didn't already know what was going to happen. It's just like I was kind of spoiled by reading a Goodreads review that didn't say it was a spoiler, but apparently it was a spoiler, and I kind of knew what was going to happen. I feel like if it wasn't for that, it would have probably been God tier, but since I kind of already knew, it's gonna have to go under This Was Great. So next book that we're going to be talking about is Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. This book was beautiful, okay? It was very cozy. It was very heartfelt. I loved it. It was amazing. Do I think it's God tier perfection? No. However, it was enjoyable, and it was a very cozy read with a very deep message to just appreciate your life in the moment, you know, and just appreciate everything that you do have, because you never know when it's going to be gone. So it did have a beautiful message behind it, and I really did enjoy it, so I'm going to put it under This Was Great. Next is a book that my friend actually wrote. It's called Dear Elena by Elena Rivers. Now, this is a book kind of very loosely based off of her life when she had her own stalker that was stalking her in high school. I believe it was high school, and I thought it was okay. I just felt like there was so many typos. It could have been a lot better with a lot more editing to it, and I felt like there was times where like a lot of time jumped in between scenes. Like, one scene would literally be a paragraph and they're in a completely different location doing something completely different in the next paragraph, and it just felt so rushed that we didn't really get to know the characters. I didn't really like the characters. I didn't really bond with the characters just because everything felt so rushed, and I didn't really care for the plot because of it. So I'm going to put this under Mick. It wasn't good, it wasn't bad, because this is my friend's book, but I have to be honest. The next book is going to be Tomie by Junji Ito. Tomie is this character that Junji Ito, which is a horror manga author slash illustrator, he creates this succubus that you can't help but love to hate. Like, she's awesome in the fact that she's just like very powerful and very badass, and you know that she's powerful and she knows that she's powerful, but she's also very annoying and snobby, and she loves to ruin other people's lives, so you can't help but love to hate her. And I really love Junji Ito's work. I love the illustrations behind his work. I feel like his art is very unique, and a lot of people try to imitate his style just because it is so unique and amazing. I love anything that Junji Ito writes, so I'm going to have to put it with This Was Great. Next we have Haunting Adeline by H.C. Carlton. Non-con is just not my thing. I don't do non-con. I couldn't handle like Zayd. I couldn't handle the fact that like he was against women being like hurt, women and children being hurt, yet he was turning around and like doing these horrible things to Adeline. Next we have Camp Damascus by Chuck Tingle. This is a horror that is about a gay conversion camp and basically has a lot of social commentary on gay conversion camps and just religion versus like LGBTQ plus and the LGBTQ plus community. And I really loved it. I really loved it because of that. I really loved it because of the social commentary. Like, this is a book that I can read again and again and again and get something new out of it. Even though it is fictional, there is so much social commentary on this that I highly recommend this for anyone to read. So I'm gonna have to put it under God Tier Perfection for effing sure. Okay, so moving on, the next book that we have here is The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. Now, in this book, we have that one of my favorite tropes, which is like time loops. Anything that has to do with time loops, resurrection, parallel universes, I'm all for. So I loved this book. So I'm going to put it under This Was Great. I really enjoyed it. Is it God Tier Perfection? No. Is it really good? Heck yes. So I'm going to put it under This Was Great. Next we have My Lovely Wife. This book this one's supposed to be about like a like not a female serial killer, about a couple that like kills together. However, it was okay. Do you get what I mean? It was okay. It wasn't what I expected it to be. So I think I'm gonna put this under good but forgettable. Like, I just don't think, I don't know. You know what, I'm gonna put it under meh. I'm gonna put it under not bad, not good, because I don't think I'm gonna exactly forget it. I feel like it does have a few like redeeming qualities. Not redeeming qualities, but like memorable qualities. But it wasn't like, oh my gosh, this was so amazing. Next we have Wildfire by Hannah Grace. So I don't know if I mentioned it in this video yet, but I realized after reading, I think I have already mentioned this, but after reading a lot of romance in 2023, I realized that romance, typical rom-com romance, is not my thing. So it was okay. This was good. Like, I enjoyed it while it lasted. But am I gonna remember it? No, because it's like every other romance to me. So I'm gonna put it under good but forgettable. Next we have Court of Blood and Bindings by Lisette Marshall. This is a fantasy romance where the magic system was really good. Like, I enjoyed the magic system, the fact that it's color magic. However, the fantasy romance, the romance aspect in this fantasy romance really fell flat. The characters were pretty boring. The whole story was pretty slow, and not too much was going on that actually like felt good. Not felt good, but like that was actually like enjoyable. It was pretty boring. You know, it was pretty boring. It just felt sort of, honestly, kind of like a Court of Thorns and Roses ripoff. So I'm gonna put this under, unfortunately, under this was horrible. I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. This was actually one of my worst books of the year. So next we have We Sold Our Souls by Grady Hendrix. Again, another book that I read in that Grady Hendrix vlog where I decide if Grady Hendrix is really worth the hype. And long story short, a lot of his books were not worth the hype, including this one. I did not like it. I hated it. I believe this is also in my top 10 worst books of the year. Did not enjoy this one at all. So in the beginning of the year, I read a lot of poems or a lot of poetry. So I read this one, All Along You Were Blooming by Morgan Harper Nichols. This was, I didn't know that it was like a Christian thing, and I'm not really religious, so I wasn't a big fan of it. This actually also ended up on my worst books of the year. I also like poetry that has a little bit more like heaviness to it, you know, that kind of explores a wide variety of emotions, not just the happy ones, and that fell flat on that, so I didn't enjoy it at all. Next we have the Dirty Billionaire trilogy by Megan Marsh. This is, basically, I've read all three of them, okay? I'm not going to rank each one individually because I hated them all. Did I finish the series? Yes, I finished the series. Why I finished it even though I hated it? I don't know, because I just thought the books were really small. You know, the books were really small. It was a pretty, like, fast read. So I was like, I'm just going to read them. Maybe the second will be better. The second one wasn't better. Maybe the third one would be better. The third one wasn't better. And I actually hated the series. Again, I realized that romance, typical romance, is not my thing. Especially when the guy's, like, aggressive. When, like, the guy's the dominant one. I don't like that. I like it more when the woman is the dominant one. Do you get what I mean? I don't know. I didn't like that. I didn't like that at all. The characters were really whiny. I thought they were just annoying. Next we have Orange. And in this story, we have that parallel universe time slip thing going on. And we follow our main character, Naho, as she gets a letter from her future self, basically saying that she has to save this boy from her class because he's no longer going to be with them by the end of the year, and she's the only one that can stop it. I would read this book over and over again. This actually has a anime that's on Crunchyroll. I still haven't watched it. I watched like the first episode and that's it. But I loved it so much. This is God tier perfection. I will read this time and time and again. I've been practically begging my oldest daughter, who's pretty much a teenager who she's gonna be 13 already. Oh my god. To read this because it was so good. It was so good. I loved it so much. Next we have Galatea by Madeline Miller. I read Scifi by Madeline Miller. Wasn't a big fan of it. And I tried to give Galatea a shot and I hated how, like, I get it, it's Greek mythology and a lot of the women in Greek myths don't tend to have a lot of high status. Not high status, but like they're typically more seen as like, oh, it's just their beauty and that's all they're worth for. And I didn't like that. You know, I hate when like women are portrayed as it's just their beauty and like that's it. There's no other value to a woman and I hate that so much. So I'm actually gonna put this under this was horrible. I just hate books like that. I just hate books like that. Like, end of story. I don't know what else to say about it. Next we have The Wishing Gang by Meg Schaffer. This was one of the first reads of 2023 and I actually really enjoyed this. This was actually one of my top 10 books of the year. Would I read it again? I don't know. I'm gonna put it under this was great because it was really good. I don't know if I would read it again. Maybe down the line I might, but it's not like a priority for me like these other God tier perfection books are. Like I would pick it up any day and be like, yes, let's reread this again. Next we have Fantastic Land by Mike Bakovin. This is a horror about this hurricane that hits this theme park and these kids have to like fend for themselves. It's a take on Lord of the Flies, but make it like theme parky, like throw in like Disney employees there. It was so good. I loved it so much. This is God tier perfection. I would read this again and again. I actually picked up Lord of the Flies because I want to read the original tale that was the inspiration to this because I was obsessed. I loved this book so freaking much. Like I realized I love horror. Okay, I love horror, but not all horror. Next we have My Best Friend's Exorcism. This book was okay. You know, like I don't want to say it was forgettable because it wasn't. It's about like friendship that I thought was really cute. I love the cover of this book. I don't know. I don't want to say it was good but forgettable, but I don't want to say it was not bad. I'm just going to put it under this was great just because it wasn't meh, but it wasn't forgettable either. Do you know what I mean? Like it was good, but it wasn't great. I don't have a tier between that, so I guess it's just gonna go under that this was great because there's no in between. Next we have The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. I didn't like this one at all. Again, women are portrayed, and I get that it's like social commentary on race. There was social commentary definitely on racism and on sexism, especially back in like the 80s and the early 90s. And I just didn't like it. You know, like I just felt like it was slow at times. I felt like the synopsis was very misleading. And I didn't like it. So I'm going to put it under this was terrible or this was horrible. I notice I have so many this was horrible and not enough this was great. Then that goes, okay, going for the next, that does not go for the next book. We have Fourth Wing. If you guys watched my channel at all in 2023, you guys know that Fourth Wing is the love of my life. Okay, Fourth Wing can do no wrong. Fourth Wing is God tier, absolute, has descended into the most ultimate, highest ascension that there possibly is for me. Because this book was absolute perfection. There has never been a book that made me escape reality as much as Fourth Wing did. And it did exactly what it was what it intended to do at the exact time that I needed it. And this book was absolute perfection. I couldn't sleep because I wanted to read this book. And when I went to sleep, I would dream about it. I was that obsessed. And it was worth it. It was worth every single obsessive thought that I thought about it, and I still think about it to this day, and I've actually already read it twice. Will I read it a third time? Hell yeah. I will read this book again and again and again and not get bored of it because I love it. Okay, so next we're gonna go with Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score. This is a rom-com tale, but the reason why I enjoyed this one is because there was more to it than just the romance. There was some drama. There was a lot of like found family, I guess sort of like found family, and I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed the depthness that it went into. It wasn't just a typical Hallmark ending. I really liked it, so I'm gonna put it under this was great. I enjoyed it. Was it God tier perfection? No, it was not. Nowhere near fourth wing God tier perfection, but it was really good. So it's going under this was great. All right, so the next book that we are going to talk about is Go the Distance by Jen Kalonita. This is a twisted tale about Hercules's, like Disney's Hercules is Hades, and Meg, like what if Meg had to become a Greek god and she had to basically save her ex's wife from the underworld in order to be with Hercules. And I actually really liked this. I'm going to put this under this was great because I started reading this literally the same night that I watched Hercules, and the personalities of each and every one of these characters were spot on 1000% with the Disney Hercules characters, that I honestly felt like I was reading a sequel to Disney's Hercules, which happens to be my favorite Disney film of all time. So there's that one. Next we have Smashed by Junji Ito. This is another horror book. I really liked this one. I don't want to say it was God tier perfection. However, I really enjoyed Junji Ito's stories. I loved that we got more of personally my favorite character, Fuchi, who is this like model that's like terrifying. Yeah, it was really good. It wasn't God tier perfect. There's other Junji Ito books that I would consider God tier perfection books, but Smash was not it. However, it was great. Next we have The Cursed Princess Club by Lamb Cat. I really liked this one. This is basically about some princesses, and one princess looks different than the others. She's not your typical traditional beautiful princess, and it was just really cute. I really liked it. Next we have The Nothing Man by Catherine Ryan Howard. This is basically a thriller where we follow a serial killer, the point of view of a serial killer, and the point of view of the victim that is really trying hard to find the killer. And it was good. I really liked the parts where we got into the serial killer's head. However, everything else just felt very flat for me. It was pretty slow and pretty boring. So I'm going to put it under good but forgettable. Next we have Ugly Love by Colleen Hoover. I hated this book. Okay, the boy has such F-boy energy. The main character, the female main character, Tate, was just annoying. She was obnoxious. I just didn't like her. So I'm going to put it under this was terrible or this was horrible. Unfortunately, I've read quite a few Colleen Hoover books, and this was the first flop for me. Next we have Ali Hazelwood's Love on the Brain. I really liked this one. I thought it was good. However, after so much time, I kind of forgot it. So I'm gonna have to put it under good but forgettable, because all of Ali Hazelwood's books sort of molded into the same story. We have the Grumpy Sunshine dynamic. We have the STEM female characters that obviously go into scientific fields. I just feel like every story just sort of turned into the same story. Ali Hazelwood just happens to write the same story, the same characters over and over again. She just changes the job descriptions a little bit, and she changes the names a little bit, but other than that, it's pretty much the same story, and it just has become so repetitive that one of her books isn't any different than the other one for me, and it just didn't stand out at all. So it was good. I enjoyed it while I was reading it. However, now months later, I don't really remember anything about it. I don't even remember the characters' names. All I remember was that I think one of them liked running, and that's pretty much all I remember. And next we have Verity by Colleen Hoover. This was Colleen Hoover's thriller, and this book was good. I finished this book in like one sitting. I was obsessed. I really liked this book. Would I read it again? Yes, I really enjoyed it. I'm probably gonna have to put this in God tier because I really did like this book a lot. I know why this book gets hate, and I understand why. There are some people that don't like the open ending. You don't really get like a straight up, this is exactly what happened ending. It's for your own interpretation. So I understand why some people don't like that. However, I liked that because it had me Googling things after the last page, and I was like, like, you know, I really enjoyed that aspect of it. I like books that make me think about it afterwards and have me questioning everything. It was great. Next we have Carrie Fisher's Wishful Drinking. This is Carrie Fisher, aka Princess Leia's story. I was a Star Wars fanatic as a child. For one of my childhood birthdays, it was literally Star Wars themed, not just Star Wars themed, specifically Darth Maul. I really loved Darth Maul, and I had a whole birthday dedicated for specifically Darth Maul, and I used to have my mom put Princess Leia buns. This book is Carrie Fisher's story growing up, her biography, and she even narrates the audiobook. However, it was good. I just don't really remember it. It didn't stand out too much to me, so I'm gonna have to put it under good but forgettable. Next we have Pillow Thoughts by Courtney Peppernill. This is a kind of like a romance-y sort of poems where, again, we follow the in and outs of romance. We follow the course of a relationship from the crush part all the way up until after the breakup and the healing process of it, and I really enjoyed it. I'm going to put it under this was great because I really did like it. Next we have I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. Love this cover. Jeanette McCurdy narrates the audiobook. When it comes to biographies and stuff, I try to always get the audiobook. And it was good, but it was forgettable. So the next book that I have is Hooked by Emily McIntyre. This I read back towards the beginning of the year. This book was okay. This is like a Hook and like Wendy Darling romance, dark romance. I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I would. It was okay. Like, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't good. You know, like dark romance, I don't know, it's the non-con that's like a no for me. However, this wasn't like over the top non-con like Haunting Adeline was. So this was meh, not good, but not bad. Next we have Delilah Green Doesn't Care by Ashley Herring Blake. I loved this book, okay? Like, Delilah Green, it just seemed hot to me. She just seemed hot to me. I don't know. I loved it. This was great. Lighting change because it's nighttime now, because people like to bug me when I'm filming. Next we have Astrid Parker Doesn't Fail. This is the second part to the Delilah Green story. It was okay. Good but forgettable. I'm gonna put it under because it was good but forgettable. I didn't like it as much. Next we have Legends and Lattes. I actually really liked this one. I rated it 4 stars, but as I think more and more about it, I really realize that I love fantasy, like cozy fantasy, like low stakes cozy fantasy. So I'm actually gonna put it in God Tier Perfection. Even though I didn't put it in my top 10, I probably should have because I really did enjoy this one. Next we have One Day in December. Sorry for the low quality of this one, by Josie Silver. This one I'm actually gonna put in this was great because, again, this was another one that was great. However, not God Tier Perfection. And this one really, again, shows like the beginning of a relationship, the process of falling in love, and then the aftermath of heartbreak. Next we have The Night Shift by Alex Finley. This was good but forgettable. I literally just read this last month and I already kind of forgot what happened. And next we have Because of Winn-Dixie by Kate DiCamillo. This was pretty good. This was good because my daughter really likes it. My 9-year-old told me to read it. So I'm going to put it under this was great because you guys may or you may not know that I love dogs. And if I can't handle a dog story where the dog dies, but give me a story where it's actually good and the dog doesn't die, and that was a great one. Next we have Love and Other Disasters by Anita Kelly, and I'm gonna put this under good but forgettable, just because no, you know what, I'm gonna put it under meh, not good, not bad, because this one has so much potential and it sort of flopped. It takes place in a baking competition, and they could have done so much more with it, and they just didn't. Next we have Book Lovers by Emily Henry. Like I said, this is another rom-com typical Hallmark ending that it just doesn't stand out for me. So I'm going to put this under good but forgettable. And then we have Iron Flame. I had a lot of issues with this book. Okay, it definitely was not God tier. However, I did still enjoy a lot of it. So I'm going to put it under this was great. It was actually in one of my top fantasy romance books, my top 5 fantasy romance books for 2023. It wasn't a 5-star. It definitely was not a 5-star, but it was really good. Next we have Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. This book was really good. Again, it was so beautiful, it was so bittersweet. I'm between like this was great and God tier perfection. I'll put it under God tier perfection. It was really good, okay? This book was beautiful. It had such a beautiful, bittersweet ending to it. Had this like twist to it that I was not expecting. These Scary Stories books, I'm gonna put them all under This Was Great, because this is just like a nostalgia hit for me. I have 1, 2, and 3 here. So I'm gonna put them under This Was Great, because I don't want to say it was good but forgettable, because it definitely wasn't forgettable, because again, it's like a nostalgia thing, and this is a book that I read multiple times. However, it wasn't like God tier perfection either. I mean, it's a kid series. Next we have Orange Volume 2. This one was really good. It wasn't as good as Orange Volume 1, so I'm gonna put it under This Was Great, because it wasn't God tier over the top amazing like Orange Volume 1, but it wasn't bad. It was really good. It was still 5-star for me. Next we have Orange Future. This one was good as well. It didn't live up to the hype of Volume 1 and not even Volume 2. So I'm still gonna put it under This Was Great, because there's nothing in between those two. Next we have Meet Me at the Lake by Carly Fortune. Did I like it while I was listening to it? Yeah, I thought it was cute. Another typical romance with a Hallmark ending. Nothing really stood out to me, so I'm actually going to put this under good but forgettable, because I already don't remember it. Next we have Love Theoretically. I hated it. This is when Ali Hazelwood's books just sort of started molding into each other. So I'm actually going to put the rest of Ali Hazelwood's books, meaning her novella Below Zero, is going to also go in This Was Horrible, because I did not like it. All her books, like I said, just seems like it's the same story over and over and over again. She just changes the characters' names and then changes the jobs and the job descriptions a little bit. But overall, it's pretty much the same story, and it gets very repetitive. So I'm going to put also Stuck With You there as well. Next we have Horror Store by Grady Hendrix. This was a horror book. This was good. I guess I'm going to put under This Was Great. It sucks because I'm mixing like some 4-star and 5-star and even some 3-stars here, because there's nothing. I should have put something between God tier and This Was Great, but I didn't. Same thing with Sidetrack in the Mind F series. This is the second book. I'm going to put this one under This Was Great, because it was good. It wasn't God tier, but it was good. And then we have Devil's Line, Devil's Line. This was really good as well. However, it was pretty forgettable. It reminded me kind of like Tokyo Ghoul almost, slash mixed with like a little bit of Demon Slayer. It was okay. Next we have Mistletoe by Kimberly Lemming. This is sort of like a holiday twist to her fantasy romance series with demons in it. And it was a lot shorter. Not a lot shorter, it was a little bit shorter than that time that I got drunk and saved a demon. I'm going to put this under This Was Great, because it definitely wasn't God tier, but it wasn't like, I don't know, it wasn't horrible. Next we have Two Scoops of Hellfire by Kimberly Lemming, and this is a short erotica. I'm going to put this under good but forgettable. just because I liked the quirky, and you know what, I don't even want to put it under forgettable because I don't think it's forgettable. It's pretty unique in the aspect that we have like this demon that just like wants to screw this woman, and this woman's like okay with it. So I'm gonna put it under this was great. Next we have the Weirdies, and the only reason why I listened to this was because Kate Winslet narrated it in Audible, but it wasn't like, it was like okay. Do you get what I mean? Like it was I'm gonna put it under meh. No, I don't think I liked it that much. I only liked that when Kate Winslet was like narrating it. So I'm actually gonna put it under this was horrible because I didn't like it. Like I didn't like it. Next we have Dissolving Classroom by Junji Ito. This one was good. It wasn't great. It wasn't, there's not too much to, I mean, I do remember it a lot, so I don't want to put it under good but forgettable. I'm probably gonna have to put it under good but forgettable because I do remember pieces of it. I do remember a lot of it actually, but it wasn't as good as all his other books. Next we have Tombs. I actually really liked this one a lot more than Smashed. I might have to put this one in, but it's not God tier perfection. I'm gonna put it under This Was Great. I'm gonna put it under This Was Great. Another collection of Junji Ito's short horror stories. Next we have Homebody by Rupi Kaur. I love Rupi Kaur. This one's about just loving your body and all its imperfections. This was great. It's not as good as some of her other books. I can't put it in like God tier, but it wasn't like terrible. Next we have the Inheritance Games. Meh, this was not good, not bad. It was okay, so I'm gonna put it under meh. And then we have I'll Never Be Your Crown Princess. I really liked this one. It doesn't like stand out to me too much though, so I'm gonna put good but forgettable. It was like my first like hentai-ish manga, but I did like it, so I'm gonna put it under good but forgettable. So here we have my list, so we can see that we only had a few God tier perfection books, and then we had a lot of This Is Great. We had quite a few good but forgettable, a few meh, and then I can't believe that we have so many horrible books. So I'm hoping that now that I sort of know my taste in books, I'll know which books to sort of steer away from, aka a lot of like rom-coms and like just romances with like Hallmark endings. So anyways, you guys, that is it for my tier ranking. I hope you guys enjoyed this as much as I did. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.